And I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll start. So again, welcome. I appreciate you all coming, especially on a day that we technically don't have classes. I really do appreciate that, and that you're all here to learn about LancerLife, because I think it's really important, especially during this time when everything is digital. For this workshop today, I'll be going ahead and using this handout as kind of a guide. So if you want to follow along, I'll go ahead and copy the link here and drop it in the chat. And it gives you like super basic overview. I'll be diving into each one of them a little bit more in depth, but it's just a good kind of framework for us to follow along here today. So I will say that LancerLife in general is a pretty dense piece of software. You can make it do a lot of things, but today we'll just be going over some of the basic features and just some of the core functionality that I think is most important that everybody should know. But if during the presentation, any of you see a button that you want to learn more about, or if you want to talk about a certain feature or a certain thing you want to do with the system, let me know and I can show you, and we can kind of go off on a little tangent. And I can show you for those of you who are a little bit more advanced and are more willing to kind of dive into the features there. But we're going to go ahead and start off with part one here. Part one is pretty simple: how to locate your club on LancerLife. So I'm going to go from the perspective of you as the club member and from what the student who's wanting to join your club will see, right? So one here is what students and what everybody has access to when you want to look for your club. So here I'm on LancerLife. I'm already logged in with my Lancer Point ID. At the top here, there's this navigation bar. I can go ahead and click organizations, and it'll bring me to a list of all of the active clubs here on campus. If I don't want to click next or load more and kind of scroll through everything, because I know that's tedious for a lot of people, especially on their phones, I can go ahead and type in the club name or organization name that I'm looking for. So if I type in Associated Students, right, we show up, and then as you get more specific with your search terms, it will kind of filter it out for you. So that's the way, that's the universal way you can, as a club member, access your club. And if any students want to know more about your club or join your club, they can go to that same route and look up your club and join your club through that interface. The other perspective is from if you're already added as a club member, and especially as an administrator of your LancerLife page. So if I go back to the home page here, it gives you a little shortcut once you're part of a club. So halfway down the page, you can see I'm a part of Associate Students, I'm a part of Baking Club, and I'm part of French Club. So if I click on any one of these cards here, right, it'll take me directly to the club's profile page, and that's like a nice, easy shortcut there. So we're starting off slow, part one, just how to locate your club, something I think everybody should know. So part two is how to manage your roster, otherwise known as the people and your positions in the club. I will say that for every part herein, like part 2, 3, 4, 5, like all of those, the way to get to those pages are pretty much going to be the same. So I'm going to repeat myself a couple of times for those of you who are familiar already. You probably know what I'm going to talk about, but I just want to make sure that I drill that into everybody here, how to access and manage your page, because I think it's important. So the way to manage your page, and this is going to go for the next couple steps here of the presentation today, is I'm going to go and again, from part one, look for my club, or just click through to my club. I'm going to go ahead and look for the Manage Organization button here in the cog at the upper right. And it'll bring me to like this page right here. I know it's kind of ugly, you know, it's a lot of blank space, but what you're going to be looking for is right here, right below the PCC logo in the upper left. There's what's called a hamburger menu. It's just like a 3 horizontal lines. If you click that, it will open up this drawer on the left side of your screen. And because we're looking for our roster here, which is part 2 of our presentation today, we'll go ahead and click roster. But I'm going to go ahead and repeat those steps again and again, because again, as you can see, it goes for every single item here: events, news, gallery. That's how you get to that to manage your page. So I'm going to go ahead and click roster. I'm just going to go ahead and end my membership quickly so I can show you what it looks like. So part 2A is how to invite people to be a part of your club. So the way I like to put it with the roster in LancerLife, it's that it's a two-way street, right? People can come and knock on your door and want to join your club, or you as the administrator of your club page can reach out to students and ask them to join your club, like sending out, like invites, right? Like a wedding invite or like a birthday invite, like those cards. So that's what I mean by a two-way street, right? You can either reach out to students or students can come to you. So part 2A is going to go over how to reach out to students. So you're basically going to be sending them an invitation in the mail, in their email, more specifically. So once I'm on the roster page here, you can see Carrie is part of this club. She's the only person, but I want to have more members. So how do I do that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and look for this button here in the upper right, invite people. And once I click that, it's a little bit slow today. In a moment here. It's not the fastest system in the world, but it will eventually get there. So just bear with me. Okay, there we go. So bring you to this page here. It's a pretty simple page. And on here, you're going to go ahead and type in the student email address of the people that you want to reach out to and be a part of your club, right? So you don't have to type in one at a time because that would be tedious. As it states here, you can enter up to 500 people. And the way you would do that in a bulk import is you would just type in your email address. Just gonna type in mine here. Right, you're gonna press enter, and then for every new person you want to add to your club, you're going to press enter, add a new email address, add a new email address. I will say here at this step, it's very, 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 very important that you use their go.pasadena.edu or pasadena.edu email address. A lot of people have been wanting to use or have put in their Yahoo or Gmail or Hotmail or whatever. The system, unfortunately, it won't warn you that, hey, if you put in a personal email address, messages won't get to you. It won't tell you that, but you won't get the messages if you put a personal email address. So you just have to make sure that you put in their student email address, so that they receive that invite and they receive any messages from here forward. So I mean, students should be checking their student email anyway. That's why we give them that address, right? Campus notifications are sent there. Campus-wide alerts are also sent to that address. Students should be checking it anyway. So they must use, and you must enter in their student email address. But with that said, I'm just gonna invite myself super quickly here. I'm gonna press add. And then once I press that, it'll give me like a little drop down here. And this is a little bit of a shortcut, right? Like if you want to go ahead and right away add people, you can just skip this part and press the blue button. But if you want to add like a new president, ICC representative, advisor, you have a couple custom positions here, head baker, whatever it might be, you can do that directly from this box right here. If you just invite them as a member and just skip this part, don't worry, you can always change their status later, but that's just like a little, quick tip there if you want to quickly add people as an officer to your club. But I'm just going to leave it as member as default. I'm going to send an invitation. And then if I go ahead and refresh my student inbox here, and if LancerLife loads today, I'll show you what it looks like on my end. Okay. One organization invitation was successfully sent. So let me see and run to my inbox here and show you what it looks like. Okay. So if I bring this tab back in, I'm in my student email, right? PCC logo is in the upper right. I got this super simple, short and sweet email. You know, the person who invited you wants you to join their club. And what you would do from here as the student is I just want to go ahead and click on the blue button, and I just get an option to accept or decline. So it's just as simple as that. I'm just going to accept my own invitation here, and I'm going to press confirm. And if I go ahead and go back to my roster here, apologize for jumping around, but it doesn't bring me directly to that page. So, oh, we're right here. Let me refresh this. Go ahead and refresh it. Come on. All right, there we go. So now I show up as a new entry in the table here for a list of members for my club. All right, so that's one lane of that two-way street that I was talking about. That's one side of it. The other side is if people want to go ahead and, again, knock on your door and want to join your club, right? And that's the way that I think most of you are going to get your members through, just because, as I understand it, with our virtual club rush, for example, we posted links to your profile pages on that custom website that we created. So we're redirecting students and funneling them into your club profile page. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove myself super quickly here and show you what it looks like on the student side of things. So again, as we stated in part one, students can look for your club, right? So they can go ahead and go to organizations, baking club, and this is what the page looks like now as a non-member, as just as a general student. So as you can see, I have this really bright blue join button. So if I want to go ahead and as a student, if I'm interested in joining this club, I'm going to press join. And now the button changes to membership pending. So when a student requests to join your club, right, it won't automatically accept. You have to review their request in the system. So definitely keep an eye on your roster. Keep checking on that page. I believe the person that's registered as the primary contact for your club or an administrator of your page will get those notification emails. But yeah, just make sure you're always checking this page, because then you'll see this again like bubble here, right? If there's anybody that wants to join your club. But yeah, I'm here on a roster. I can see here now perspective 1. Okay, so if I click on that, it's a little bit slow today, but eventually we'll get there. All right, so now you see I get the same little approve or deny option here. So I'm just going to approve myself to be a part of this club. User will successfully approve. So now if I go back to the current tab, I am now added as an entry in this table here. So that's how students can join your club. Either you reach out to them or they come to you. Any questions so far? No, yes? Pretty straightforward, I think. You'll get the hang of it. Okay. So part 2C is how to modify positions in your club. We get this question a lot, right? I mean, I know especially during these times, you're getting new ICC representatives that can maybe make the meetings when other ones cannot. Advisors are busy, so you need to find new advisors. So how do you do that? How do you change that in the system? So on the roster here, I'm going to scroll down, and if you can look at this table, there's a pencil next to every person's name. So let's say I want to make Harry the president, right? So I'm going to go ahead and press this pencil, and I get this little drop down, or I get this little dialog box. And if I want to change your position, it's just as simple as checking a box and pressing save. And now you can see under this column, she's president. So the same goes in reverse, right? If she's no longer the president, I'm just going to click on this, uncheck it, press save. And that's it. So pretty simple and pretty intuitive, I think, to go ahead and add new officers and remove officers from your club. So obviously, as you can see, it kind of follows that, if someone just joined your club and they're just, they were just elected to be a club officer and they're not in LancerLife yet, you would go ahead and either have them look up your page on LancerLife, have them join your club, and then promote them once they're part of your club. Or you can send them an invitation via their student email address, right? So you can kind of see how the chain of things happen here if you want to add new people and promote them in the system. So any questions so far? Any advanced features that people want to go over? Anything like that? We can explore that if you want. No, yes. Right, because there's a messaging and a managed positions feature here, but I don't want to overwhelm you all. So, but we can go over it if any of you are interested.
Just got a
Nope.
question about messaging.
Yes.
I sent out an email to the whole club a little bit ago. And for the subject line, luckily it ended up working out well. But for the subject line, when you hit that messaging button, it'll ask you like what you want to put.
Mm-hmm.
And so I assume that when we go, and then it sends us like an email, or it gives us an email to like send our message to.
Right.
And then when we're writing that email to that email, sorry, this is like a confusing sentence, but when we're writing that email to be sent out and relayed to the rest of the club, do we put anything in the subject line of the email that we're personally sending?
I believe the proxy will accept whatever subject you put and just kind of, pass it on.
Okay.
But if there are any quirks or anything, you can let me know. And actually, matter of fact, let me go ahead and go over this messaging feature super quickly because I think it is something that's going to be definitely useful for all of you moving forward. So as Noah stated here, LancerLife in the roster does have a messaging feature. Just like how I send all of you newsletters every Monday, you can do the same for your members and email blast them, right? Like any upcoming events or meetings or whatever. So in the roster here, I have this little button messaging right next to invite people. There's a couple of these other buttons. One of them is messaging. And again, it is slow today, isn't it? I give it a moment here, but it will load up. I apologize for the delay here. I don't know what's going on. Okay, there we go. All right, so it'll bring me to this page called messaging, right? And what you can do from this page is what's called create a relay. And what a relay is a proxy that will then blast your emails out to students. So the way I like to put this is LancerLife as a system as a whole wants to protect like student information. So you will never get to see the student email address. Like if you click on a person in the roster, obviously you have their email address if you added them through invitation. But if you want to get that information back, there you can't do that. There's also no way to get their student ID, right? Because that's very important too. I mean, a student ID is linked to all sorts of things, right? Like transcripts, class registrations and stuff. So this is why there's a relay, because you never get to see your constituents' email address. This relay will on your behalf send those messages to the correct people. Does that make sense? Right. So it's like it's proxying your request to be sent so that the real email address of students is never exposed. So that's why this exists. Okay, so with that, once I create a relay, I can super fine tune this, which is really great. right? If I go ahead and press edit positions, I can send messages just to members, just to presidents, just to advisors. So it kind of breaks it down for you. Or if I want to, I can just send messages to specific people. Or I just want to send it to Carrie, or I just want to send it to myself, whatever the case might be. So you can see how you write, like every person in your club is a member. So if you just press member, it'll be blasted to everybody. But within the member group, there's like, officers, right? There's your presidents, there's your co-advisors, there's your advisors. So you can really see how you can fine tune this to get the word out to specific people. But you enter in your title and the subject, and then you press generate, and it'll go ahead and give you an email address that you can send, whatever content you have to, and then it will again blast out those messages on your behalf. So I know that wasn't covered in the handout, but it is something useful, and it is something that I think most of you will appreciate. If I go back here, and I think I went back a little bit too far, but I'll just talk about it then. But in addition to email blasting, if students add their phone number into the system, which I believe is a default option already, you can also send out text message blasts, right? And I know email is a little bit nowadays an antiquated way of communicating with each other, right? So some people just prefer text messaging because it's like instant. So you can also send a relay and send people text messages through that relay. So that's also like a cool feature. Like I said, this software is pretty dense. So I'm just going to go over the core functionality today, but if any of you want to explore more of the advanced things, we can do that. But that's the roster. Oh, one more thing before I move on to part 3 here. So a lot of people come to us and ask, how can I prove that I was a part of XYZ club, or part of this other club, or part of this group? So make sure that your roster is always up to date, and that people that are on there are supposed to be on there, and people that need to be on there are on there, because that is the way you're going to prove on paper from the college officially that you were a part of an organization, right? So anybody can claim that they were president of so-and-so, but this system will be the ultimate like proof, right? Like the ultimate, like you can actually print out a report that says I was a part of this club for this amount of time in this term. So make sure that anybody that needs to be on here is on here, and make sure that people that are no longer your president or ICC representative, whatever it may be, gets removed. So that is to say, just make sure you're on this page a lot. Just maybe assign one person to check it weekly, and make sure that, right, you always are keeping this fresh. Okay, so part 3 on the handout, and I'm going to go to this next, is customize your about page. So I'm going to go ahead and open up side by side here, and hopefully this will work because I believe I'm sharing my entire screen. I believe this should be working today if it's not too slow. So I'm going to go ahead and put this side by side here. But are there any questions so far while we're waiting about the roster, about how to find your club, or just any like little issues that you found with the system that you want to go over?
I have a question.
Yes.
As you mentioned, sometimes there's other members that can attend ICC meetings. And how would you, without removing the first original ICC rep, how would you put the designation on the positions? Would you, the second person that attends the ICC meetings?
So you're saying like you have an ICC representative and you have like an alternate?
Yeah.
So you would just mark both of them as ICC representatives in the roster.
Got
So you
it.
can have more than ICC representative. You just go in, press the pencil button, check the first person who's an ICC representative, do the same thing for the alternate, and it should register.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring up side by side here, these 2 pages. So what do you see is the difference between these two pages here? Anybody? There's a lot of differences, but some of them are pretty obvious. Can anybody unmute
One of them is
themselves?
filled out and populated.
Yes, one is filled out and populated. See how associate students, it has a really thorough description. It even has links embedded in our description. It has links to all of our social media. It has all of our photos and events and officers. So it's pretty full, pretty populated, really nice. When students land on this page, you're like, oh, you know, there's stuff happening here, right? Versus something like this where it's like, okay, it's just a one-line description, generic information, right? No events, no photos, really dead looking. So part 3 is going to show you how to kind of freshen up your page and add content to it to make it look appealing. And by the end, you'll see what I mean, right? Because then it'll look more filled out. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to Baking Club here. And again, same thing for everything we do today. Manage organization. On the upper right here. I did see there was an error earlier. They might be doing some maintenance in the background. So, but let's fingers crossed that this holds for our training today. But manage organization. And once that next screen shows up, you're going to go ahead and press on the hamburger menu, which is again that 3 horizontal line button in the upper left corner. Man, this thing is really chugging today. I don't know why, and I apologize for that. Okay, click on here, right? The hamburger menu, it opens up our drawer. And below roster is going to be this little eye in a bubble about. We're going to go ahead and click on that. And this is where we can start to flesh out our description, add our social media, you know, make it look more appealing and make it look more populated. I'm going to go ahead and just give it a moment here. All right. So as you can see, this is where we can go ahead and edit our description. It's pretty much like, this is the back end of that, right? Of that profile page that you saw earlier. So we don't want to have a one-line description because that's boring and that's appealing and that's not appealing. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in a full paragraph. That looks much better. So that's how you edit your description there. If you have a profile picture, I highly recommend you make one or, you know, create one on Canvas super quickly because that will help identify you, you know, in the list of all the other organizations that are competing for attention. So make sure you do that. We have one already, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to flesh out my description, contact information, always put the school address. Don't put your personal address. I saw that once. That is not good. If you have any website that your club has created on like Weebly or Google Sites, or even have, if you're savvy enough to develop your own website, you can link it here. If you have a Google Calendar, you can link it here. If you have social media, you can post it here, right? I have a couple of links. These are fake. These are samples. Don't go to them. But I'm going to go ahead and just paste it in here so that it shows up in our page. We have a Facebook page. We have a Twitter username, right? All this stuff, I think students will appreciate. It'll make your page look that much more populated. So I'm going to go ahead and have that there. And this bottom part right here, I think is probably one of the more important parts of this edit dialog. So yes, your advisor is going to be listed here. So if anybody, you know, as a last ditch effort, really cannot contact your club, they can go ahead and run to your advisor and email them. And your advisor can, you know, check up with your club. The other thing here that's also important, oh yeah, if you have any co-advisors, make sure they're listed too. But the other thing that's also important, especially now that we're virtual, make sure you put the meeting platform, whether it be Zoom or Skype or whatever you decide on, and make sure you put the time that your club meets, because I know all of you should have regularly scheduled club meetings. So make sure you put that information down so that students know when they pull up your page, like directly right there on the front, you can say, oh, okay, these these people meet on Zoom and you meet from this time to this time. But that's pretty much it for this about page here, editing it at least. So I'm gonna go ahead and press save. And I don't know if it'll show up on the front page right away, especially considering that they're probably doing maintenance today. But let's see if it catches up here. Okay, organization information was updated. So let me go back and go here to Baking Club again. But are there any questions about that? Again, while we're waiting, any questions about how to customize your profile or your page? Any
Just got one.
advanced? Yes.
How does like ASPCC imagine that we would use LancerLife to communicate, like, here's the Zoom link to our meeting? Like, are we supposed to, put it like on our description of our actual club? I would imagine not, because then it's super public, but.
Well, students don't get to see your profile unless they're logged in with their LancerPoint ID. So that's kind of the first barrier, yeah, to kind of prevent, bots or scammers from coming into your meetings. But I mean, I know some people, they put their Zoom link here and that's perfectly acceptable, right? I mean, it's just like a simple, hey, here's our link. Just make sure that Zoom link obviously is a recurring meeting if you know how to set that up. But the way that we kind of recommend people have Zoom links to their meetings is if you go ahead and I'll show you later, but you can go ahead and create news articles and events, and that's where you would put them, just because then it can integrate better with like attendance and email blasts and stuff. Because this page, for better or worse, it's a little bit more static, right? Like you can't. I mean, you can email this page out, but you would have to do it, manually and know their email addresses. There's no way to like RSVP to your profile page like it is for like the events and stuff on LancerLife. So just kind of like think about what the priority is in terms of like getting that information out, and you'll figure it out. But there's no right or wrong answer. It's just really up to you as a club where you want to put that information down. But as you can see now that it's loaded, right, we have a nicer description. We have a profile page, profile picture, and then we have links to our social media. And it looks much, much better now. So that's part 3 in a nutshell. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Okay, so the other thing too, it's too bad this is slow because I would open it up. Okay, I think it's working now. But if I go ahead and open up these 2 pages again, right, if I scroll down here, what is missing from the right side that the left side has? What's something else?
Events.
Events, okay. But just generally, right, like pictures is what I was getting at. But yeah, so you can add pictures to your LancerLife page, right? If I expand this, maybe it'll illustrate this better. But you can see here, when people jump on your page, they have a really nice description. They have a gallery to look at for your beautiful faces and any events that you had. This one does not, so it looks a little bit more bland. Right, the saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words definitely is true here, especially when you're competing for attention, right, for students to join your club. So I'm going to show you how to upload photos and how to do that on your page here. So again, manage organization. And hopefully, because I'm uploading photos, it won't crash the system here, because I know it's been slow today. But manage organization, hamburger menu once it loads. And I'll show you what to click after that. Give me a moment here. But Noah had some really good questions. Anyone else have any quick questions here before we move forward? I'm just gonna pause a couple times today because people tell me I'm fast. So, okay, so I'm gonna click on the hamburger menu, and about halfway down, you can see gallery here. It's like a mountain with a little sun next to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on that. I have no albums so far, so this is a blank slate for me to upload some super nice photos that students will look at when they go to our profile page. So on LancerLife, the way it works is that all photos need to be in an album, right? You need a binder or like a little book to keep all your things in, right? Like it is in real life. Otherwise, it will just be loose. So first, you have to create an album to store all that. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. It's going to be Bake Off photos, right? And then we'll be like, these are photos from a Bake Off. Students in action. Just obviously your description is going to be more thorough than that, but I just want to go ahead and create something super quick. But yeah, you're going to name your album. You're going to give it a nice description. You're going to click create. So now it's created. So now how do I upload photos, right? You're going to go ahead and click on edit album. And now I can drag or drop things into this box or upload them from my computer. You can actually do videos too. And someone had the question yesterday. Some clubs created like a little clip for Club Rush, and they want to upload that. That's a good place to put it. Someone also asked what the limit was for how long a video can be to upload. I haven't pushed the limits on that in LancerLife yet, but try it out. If it doesn't accept it, that's why you can link to a YouTube page on your profile. Remember your about page, you can link to social media, you can link to a YouTube channel. So if you want to direct students there, you can put it there if it doesn't work here, but that's a little tangent. But here I'm going to upload some photos from our event so that it looks nice and appealing. So give it a moment here to upload just some generic stock photos, but right, it will make our page look that much more inviting. Right, so there you go. It's not letting me save, but I think that has something to do with maybe the fact that, again, they're doing some maintenance in the background today, but that's okay. But now it's uploaded, so I go ahead and go back to album. Right now my photos appear. I can preview them if I click on the plus. If you have any videos, you can do the same, but that is pretty much adding photos to your profile page in a nutshell too. Pretty simple. I mean, really, honestly, it's just like the about page. You just open it up, add your content, and you leave and you're done. If you want to go ahead and check, we'll go and do that now and see if it's uploaded for you. Now our page looks a little bit more inviting, a little bit more appealing. We have our social media links. We have a nice paragraph here, and then we have our photos. And I think the photos really help enhance the look, right? Because it gives, again, a photo is worth 1,000 words. So I think, right, it looks a little bit more appealing now for our club. So any questions here before I move on to the last two portions today? I don't know if we have a time for a Kahoot, but if you want to stay, we can do that. But any questions? No, yes? Okay, no worries. So the last two things I'm going to talk about today, and I think is going to be, there's a little bit of a learning curve to it, I will admit, but it's okay. I initially had problems, with it when I started using the system, but I was able to catch on. But based off of my experience, I'll share that and tell you kind of what the differentiator is between these two. So part 5 and 6 kind of go hand in hand. I'm looking at part 6 right now in the handout and it's not filled out. I will fix that after the meeting. But part 5 we're going to go over is how to add events. So again, if I go ahead, I don't want to press back. I don't want to press back because I don't know if it's going to take a while to load, but I press manage organization, hamburger menu, and events. So sees the little calendar icon under about. I'm going to go in and click that. All right, so I have no events so far. So we are on a blank slate. So I'm going to go ahead and press create event. And I know this gives you a lot of options, but don't be overwhelmed. I will walk through kind of the basics. And if any of you want to look at some of the more advanced functionality, actually, it will show you some of the more advanced features, but I'll just briefly discuss them. So once it loads here, should be good to go. All right. So we're going to obviously have an event title. I'm just going to copy paste from a document I have here handy so we can breeze through this. But obviously, you're going to spend some time as a club when you are creating your event to make sure that everything is, good to go and accurate. So we have a nice description. We have a title. We have a theme. Right. So that's pretty much like basic information, right? So then that's done. Next is the date and the location of your event. So I'm gonna, I don't know, put it tomorrow, 12 p.m., 1 p.m. Obviously, this is just, just drop down and choose the time that is accurate to when your event is going on. I'm gonna go ahead and click online location because I know most of you are in that scenario right now with Zoom and everything. So if I click that, I can go ahead and then add an online location link, and this is where you put that Zoom link that Noah was talking about earlier, right? So it's a generic Zoom link as a sample. You can also put online instructions, right? So Zoom waiting room. Right, please stay in a Zoom waiting room, have whatever ready, whatever the case might be, and you press save. So that's time and place. The rest of these you can really honestly leave at default. I typically don't even have to change them when I'm creating, ICC meetings and stuff. But I will point out, yes, your event should be open to the public. I mean, 99% of the time, right? So you can just leave that alone. The next checkbox is allow this event to be shown on a co-created transcript. What that means is if people attend your event, it will be shown on, remember how I said there's like a sheet you can print out that proves you're in a club? Well, there's on that sheet, it will also prove that you were at certain events. So if you want to kind of add that to students' records, you can check that box. I typically just like to do that because I know, everything needs a paper trail these days, right? So there's that option there. Right, and this next part is RSVP. So just like I had you all check in today in RSVP, this is the backside of that feature, right? For most of you, you can just leave this at default. Anyone can RSVP because all of your events should be open to the public. So really, that's good. Some of these more advanced features I'll go over super quickly. Limit the number of available RSVP spots. So like, let's say you're renting a venue and you only have a certain amount of seats you can fill. You're right. But once the tickets are sold out, they're sold out, right? So you can enable that feature. Allow respondents to represent organizations. So I turned that on today. For most of you, you've seen that already, right? When you RSVP, it asks you to go ahead and say, hey, which club are you a part of? Most of you probably won't need that, but you're more than welcome to check that box if you want to kind of track that in your records. But yeah, there's that. RSVP questions. I typically skip this, but what that is when people are, pressing the blue button to attend your event, you can ask them questions like, what brought you here today? Or, what would you like to see happen at this event? Stuff like that. But pretty much the default is good. Again, there's a lot of options, but really you just need to kind of read through them and digest them. But most of them can be kind of just left at normal. So post-event feedback. So, when you eat at a restaurant and then you really like the food that you had, you want to leave feedback, right? You want to leave a review. So this is how people can do that. Typically what students like to do for these questions is like, what did you like about the event? What did you not like about the event? For future events like this, what would you like to see? So you can customize that and have that here too. And all this information will be sent to the student email address, right? So they can access that survey from there. But I'm just going to not put that. I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So this last part here, and I think all of you should do this, is to add like a nice flyer to your event. Most of you are creating flyers for your events, which is really cool. And I don't want to see that work, only be physical, right? You want to also post it online and have it be visible to students that are using LancerLife. So I'm gonna go ahead and just upload a photo here. Yours is gonna be square, obviously, but I'm just gonna upload a sample one here, press next, and complete. So that is events. I know I went through a little bit fast because I know we're a little bit short on time, but are there any questions about events on LancerLife?
I've got one real quick.
Yes.
Are people's responses to that like after event survey anonymous?
Yes, they are anonymous.
Okay. And then you mentioned that like students could have it show up on their sort of like transcript if they attended an event or not. Are we able to modify and override the attendance of any particular person?
I
Like
believe
if,
go ahead.
like, you know, like if somebody RSVPs and says that they're going to attend, but then they don't, or I don't know if somebody forgets to RSVP or something.
Right. If they RSVP and the administrator doesn't take attendance, like RSVP is one thing, but I have to go through, for example, after this meeting is over and look at who is in a Zoom meeting and press attended. Just like when your
Okay.
professor takes attendance on Canvas, right? They put a little checkbox next to your name. It's the same idea. So they
Okay,
can
cool.
RSVP, but if you don't check them for attendance, they won't be counted for the event. And so it follows that it won't show up on the CodeQuick transcript. So they can't get credit for something that they signed up for but didn't come to.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's what it looks like. So if I go back to the events list here, now we have that. And then if I go back to our profile page, our club profile page, there's an error. Let me see if I can refresh this. Okay, but it will show up on your home page, your profile page. So then next to the gallery and next to your thorough description, you will have a couple of cards at the bottom that says, hey, you know, these are some of the events that are going on. It'll make your page look that much more appealing. So that's events. Next is news articles. So if I go ahead and open up manage organization, the hamburger menu, click on news. It's right below events, this little newspaper icon. I can go ahead and create a new article. So I'm going to pause here and kind of make sure I make this distinction clear because a lot of people get confused and even sometimes I get confused. So people ask me, Chris, what's the difference between an event and a news article? So the difference between an event and a news article is that you can RSVP to an event, but you cannot RSVP to a news article, right? So you use events to track attendance and, you know, put the Zoom link out. I mean, you can put it here too, but that's the primary purpose of events, is to have your date, your time, your place, your attendance all in one kind of integrated portion of the website. And then your news is to kind of then promote general information about your club, right? So the way I like to put it is turn in an ARF for your event, obviously, but once you turn your ARF, you create an event in LancerLife. And once you create an event in LancerLife, you create a news article to promote your event. Does that make sense? Right? So it's like you are then leading people through your news article, through your publicity to come to your event where you can then take attendance and people can get the information to join the Zoom link or, you know, when we're in person, wherever it might be. So it will become more clear as I kind of dive into this news article piece here, but I just want to make sure that distinction is clear because, you know, a lot of people get confused and it's really common. Don't feel bad. But that's the main distinction between news and events. Okay, so with news article, I'm just gonna go ahead and do a copy paste from the document I have here, just to go ahead and speed through it here. Your description and your body will be better than mine's, obviously, but just make sure you take time and put something that's thorough. So once I have that, two important pieces before I submit. One is the flyer, right? So very important. You spend a lot of effort creating your flyers, I'm sure. So you really want to go ahead and upload it. Oops. Let me go ahead and edit this. Sorry about that. I pressed on the wrong button, but it's right here. This big gray box. Click to upload. I'm gonna go ahead and press this. And there we go. We have a nice flyer for students to see. Oh, that actually took away the other thing too. I'm sorry about that. Let me delete this article and create a new one to show you what I mean. It would be better if it was faster, but what can you do? Okay, but make sure you have a description. Make sure you upload a flyer. Make sure your description is thorough. And I'll show you this last piece here once the page loads. Apologize for that little error there.
I saw an image button on the description part. Does that mean you could put a picture in the description as well?
Yeah, you can. And actually, that's a good point. I think it's pretty much universal across LancerLife, but remember how I showed you in the associated students profile page, you can embed hyperlinks in the description. You can do that like across the website. Like you can embed a hyperlink here, right? There's like a little tooltip for that. You can also embed images, yes. So if you really wanted to flesh out like your paragraph and your body and throw in information in there, you can definitely do that. And then it will be, it'll just kind of boost the description that you have. But thank you for asking that question. Again, it's a little bit more of an advanced feature, but I think it's something that, yeah, once you point it out, I think it is something that people would like to see. So I'm going to go ahead and re-upload the flyer here. I'm going to press the right button this time. Okay, so this is, again, talking about that main difference between events and news. This checkbox right here, notify members. So just like how you can send a newsletter through the roster, this is another way to email blast people about things that's going on in your club. You can't email blast an RSVP, but you can email blast a news article. So that's the other distinction too, right? So if I go ahead and check this box and press create, it will send an email out with a link to this article and like a little embed to all the members of your club so that they're up to date. So I see a lot of clubs maybe using this as a kind of like a newsletter feature, just like I said, like I always send out newsletters every Monday. You can use this to kind of take advantage of that feature, right? Like you have a news article every week. It's like weekly updates, blah, 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 what's going on in our club this week. So, and all that information is archived and people can have a history and look through it. So it's all neat and tabulated. So this is that major distinction again between news and RSVP. RSVP, you can take attendance and track attendance. For events, you can RSVP and take attendance. For news articles, you cannot. For news articles, you cannot RSVP and take attendance, but you can email blast it out to students. So hopefully that's clear. All right. And we are on the dot with the time here. So are there any questions for anybody? I have a Kahoot. If you need to go, don't go yet. Let me go ahead and capture who was here for this event so I can take attendance for that later. If you didn't RSVP for the training yet, please do so. But before we go into the Kahoot, are there any questions or concerns or anything like that? No, yes. I know you all are quiet, but I want to make sure you get all the information. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the Kahoot here. We'll start. So all of you are probably familiar with it, right? The how to use Kahoot. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat for the link to join the room here. Click and get the pin. So yeah, go ahead and join the game. So there will be prizes. They're really cool prizes, I promise. I request that you go ahead and email Carrie if you won first, second, or third place, so she can mail you out some merchandise that AS has recently gotten. All right, we have 6 people, but 14 participants. Anybody else? Okay. All right, 8 people so far. It's okay if you just want to watch, but I know, listen, I'm just gonna close the room here at 1:03. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start. So which one of these is true about LancerLife news? Remember, I made this distinction at the very end of the session here today. Yep, you all got it. You can send news articles to all of your members. You can't do the same for RSVP. So if you were able to answer this one, this next one is super simple. So who is first? John. Okay. So which is true about events? Okay, you can have students RSVP to your event. The wording here is that you can send events to all of your members during club creation. You cannot. You can only do that for news articles. So there's that little word in there that might trip you up. But yes, you can only send news articles out to people. You can't send events. But you can have students RSVP to your event and track attendance. So that's the purpose of having an event. Neck and neck, Simba and Linda. Kind of rhymes too. All right. What do you have to click to administer your club profile page? And I've said this a couple times during the meeting today, so I just want to make sure it's clear. Okay, so the order of this is manage organization from your club profile page, then the hamburger menu. You won't see the hamburger menu until you click on manage organization. So it's a little bit weird to understand, but just make sure that you're looking for things in the right order so you can get to where you need to get to administer your page. I'm surprised nobody answered cheeseburger menu because I'm pretty sure that was the right answer too. just as a kind of a joke there. But who is first? Linda's on fire. All right, second to last question. I'm going to explain it here because the image might be a little bit small. But how do you modify this section of the page? The page that has the of your profile page that has the paragraph, your social media links, it sits right next to your gallery and photos. How do you modify that? Which section of administration do you go to? Yep. So it's the about page. You don't go to your profile picture because you're not managing your profile, you're managing your club. So you have to go to your club profile page first, manage organization, hamburger menu as always, about. and then you can kind of give people their description and social media links from there. Okay, last question. Good luck to all of you. Not that it's hard, but I just want to make sure you read it carefully because it has more than one correct answer. So remember how I talked about it's a two-way street, right? So make sure you kind of keep that in mind as you're answering. Okay. So one lane of the street is they can come to your club and join. So that's them coming to you, or you can go to them by within your roster entering in their email address. Kahoot doesn't allow me to put in a longer answer. There's a character limit, but make sure you put in their student email address, right? No personal email address because it will not work. It won't give you an error, but it just they won't be getting your messages, and that's not good for anybody. Number one kind of trips some people up. I'm gonna maybe fix this for tomorrow, but a lot of actually, this is a common scenario. Like a student will email me and say, "Hey, how can I join a club?" I tried emailing, their advisor because it was listed on the front page, or I tried, someone gave me so and so's email address because I was in class with them or whatever. I don't recommend that strategy because then it's like things get lost in the system, right? Your advisor has to then, if the student didn't put in their email address or their ID number or whatever, like they have to manually go in and enter in that information. It becomes kind of a chore. LancerLife handles that for you. So I recommend, again, following that two-way street format, having students come to you by giving out your club profile page link, or just asking for their student email address and sending them an invite. And what I mean by the URL of your club profile page is if I go see right here, it's really easy, right? LancerLife, passing.edu organization bakers. So you can just give them that short, nice link. And once they log in with your Lancer Point ID, if they're not already a part of your club, they will see that join button. But let's see who are our winners here today. John, Josie, and Linda. All right. So for John, Josie, and Linda, let me go ahead and put in Carrie's email address. I'll be sending her the results. And just let her know that you won the Kahoot today. She'll be sending you some merchandise in the mail. Oh, when you email her, make sure to put in your mailing address so she can give you that box. But I'll put in her email address now. Yeah, so for John, Josie, and Linda, go ahead and do that. But other than that, I'm just gonna I'm gonna stop the recording first.